Fucking hell. Oh, it's time. Hey guys, Martin here with my own cold hands and another project. And what type of project to do in this steaming hot weather other than sitting still in front of the sewing machine for a couple of hours, right? But I have to say that I'm looking forward at least at the outcome, I guess, because sewing is one of the processes which I don't have deep under my skin, and the expectations about it will probably exceed the would-be outcome, as usual. But that presents me with the opportunity to show you guys how it would probably look like if you would try to do it, having the same lack of the skills as I do. Now, the title of this video is Making a Climbing Rope Bag, and some of you might wonder what a climbing rope actually is, why it needs to be in a bag in the first place, and why it's not desirable to use just any bag. So let me explain that very quick. The climbing rope is this thing. It is a cord specifically made for sport climbing, and it connects the climber who's up on the wall somewhere with a belayer. That's your body on the ground who makes sure that the climber can be safely lowered down or caught during the fall if it should ever happen. Jesus. Okay. One of the skills the belayer should possess is rope management, because during each climb, the usually 50-meter rope will go through the belayer's hands, and it is his job to make sure that it won't tangle up and restrict the climber from enjoying the road. Having the climbing rope lying in the dirt on the floor can result in that, and climbing industry responded to that with a climbing mat, which is basically a piece of cloth, and if you're lucky enough you can tie the rope to one of the corners, and that's pretty much it. But it does the job, sort of. The rope management is not only critical during the climb, but also when moving from place to place in the gym. And that's the moment when I tangle the rope the most. Let's solve that, shall we? I was toying with the idea for some time now, and I developed a prototype. It looks pretty boring, doesn't it? Well, there are a few things to consider when designing such a bag, and one of them is the size. Apart from the rope, I would like to keep in it also my climbing shoes and climbing harness, and this size proved to be pretty much ideal. It has 40 centimeters diameter and they more or less the same height. The other parameter is the shape. This has a rectangular bottom and a round top, and I'm not exactly fond of that, and I would like to be the bottom round as well. So it should resemble some sort of a cylindrical shape. But the most critical thing is that the bag has to retain the shape. It has to be freestanding, and the cylindrical shape has to stay even under a minor load, such as part of the rope hanging over the top. What you can't see on this prototype with the naked eye is that there is something hidden inside of the rim which helps to keep the round shape. It is a piece of a spring steel wire, and it proved to be a good compromise between the strength and the flexibility. So the whole bag can be collapsed, but when released, it will get back into the same shape. Oh, one last thing. There is a small piece of webbing down there, and it is meant for tying up the unused end of the rope, just as a safety precaution. Okay, so this is the baseline of the project, and now it's time to turn the prototype into something more permanent and better looking. Isn't this a thing of beauty? I wanted something to catch the eye, and what could be better than unicorns and rainbows and ice creams and shitload of pink apparently. Okay, before we move on to the making, I have a small personal announcement to make. I go climbing with a friend of mine who supposedly watches this channel. So, sorry Dave, but yeah, we're going to have a pink bag. Please don't let me fall to the ground. Okay, so the material I've chosen is an off-brand 100% polyester with a polyurethane coating. and that should make it durable and weatherproof. And I don't want to use the pink on the bottom of the bag, so I chose something very similar in black. The next step is to dial in the sewing machine. I think I can use this plastic one as it is able to cut through 8 layers of the fabric, and I already did a test of different kind of seams and tried to find the correct thread tension so the seams will look reasonably nice. I'm not entirely satisfied with that, but I can still call it a prototype number 2, right? I did a little bit of research on how to sew the cylindrical shape, and the most crucial thing is the dimensions, because you have your side part, which is basically a rectangle, and you have the bottom part, which is basically a circle. Now, the length of the side part has to match the circumference of the circle part, which has to be pretty close, like down to a millimeter. Now, I don't trust myself to be able to match that, because even though I will cut it correctly, I will have problems with the sewing itself. And for most of the tutorials, the process is that you take the side part, sew it together, so you create the cylinder, and then you add the bottom. But I think that I will try to do it in the opposite way, to give myself a sort of a leeway in this process. So I will keep the side open and start to add the bottom gradually. And as I will get closer to the final seam, I will close the side and then finish the bottom seam. I think that should do it, and if not, then there's probably a good reason why I haven't seen that done elsewhere. So let's try that. So I'm starting with the side, and it's just a normal rectangular shape. The desired height of the bag is 40 centimeters, but I need to add 2 seam allowances on either side. That's the extra material which will disappear under a fold. So total height is around 46 centimeters. The length comes from the final diameter, which is again 40 centimeters, and that times pi is around 126 centimeters with 3 additional seam allowances. Next, I'm marking the circle bottom, and I'm using a machinist compass which has needles on both sides, and it nicely marks on the rubber side of the black fabric. I'm marking 2 circles. The inside one is the final diameter and the outside one is another seam allowance. Let's cut it out and check how it will fit with the side panel. I need to mark the bend lines on the side panel, and again I'm using a sharp needle marker. It slightly precuts the rubber coating and makes it easier to bend it by hand, so I don't have to use iron for making these bends. Let's prepare the sewing machine. And now it's just a matter of sewing those 2 parts together. With such large diameter, it almost feels like I'm making straight seam, but in reality I have to do just a couple of steps and manually rearrange the bottom part under the fold. And you can see how it slowly takes the shape. I will not make the seam around the whole perimeter, as I said, but rather keep it open, and I really hope it's a good idea. Okay, so the basic shape is done, and I left a little bit of open seam here so I can close these 2 side parts together. Now, even though I added like 3, maybe 5 centimeters extra, apart from the obvious circumference, I still ended up with very small extra material, like maybe 1 centimeter, maybe 15 millimeters, I'm not sure. So that could be a little bit of problem, because what I want to do with these is to create a fell seam, which is like this type of connection. One is this way, the other part is this way, and you sew this through. So there's not much of the material that I can work with. So I have to bend one part outwards and the other part inwards, and I think I can do maybe, how about that, maybe like 6-7 millimeters. That's not very much. So I will mark it down and bend it. Okay, maybe it's a good idea to put it together by pins, which always seemed like a lot of work for something which is really temporary, but it looks like I won't be able to hold this together without the pins. Get rid of this. That's not working. That's not working. And that means, oh, that will be super complicated. I have to move this all the way through that. So, oh, that will be okay. Okay. That wasn't a good idea. And now I'm deep in it and I have to solve it. Oh, it will be complicated. I can't do that. Oh, I really can't do that. And I didn't check that. I didn't check that. I should have checked that. I don't think that's possible. Ah! Fuck. Hey guys, voiceover Martin from the future here, and I'm sorry about that. Well, not exactly, because otherwise I wouldn't leave that in the video. But I had to cool down a little bit and accept that the back won't be perfect. I really had to go down the pin path, that is to fix the side part together by pins, which took me about 15 minutes to do so, and I probably postponed it because of not having enough experience. Yeah, sometimes it's easier to get aggravated instead of getting into unknown territory. After the pinning, it was actually easy to finish the seam. Just take it step by step, pin by pin, and yeah, it was done. Lately I discovered that the fell seam wasn't properly closed, but I was able to fix that by adding second seam next to that. Okay, so with that being done, I want to add two handles which will be slightly longer than on the prototype number 1, as I want this bag to be able to pull over my shoulder, so I can. It's quite heavy when you carry all the stuff. It weighs I don't know, 6-8 kilograms. It's quite a lot, so I don't want to just hold it in my hand. I want to be able to put it on my shoulder. So let's think about the shoulder straps, and I would like to do a combination of the pink fabric and the black fabric, because the black fabric has this like a grippier structure, so I think it would be nice to have something like that on the shoulder, so the shoulder straps will have something to grab onto and just don't slide off. So I'm going to make a 2-compound shoulder strap, so it will start with the pink material, then it will be the black material, the grippy one, and then the pink material, and that will be like sewn on the back. So let's figure out the length of it. Let's add a reasonable extra material, because even though I added extra on the side, it really turned out that I'm just like missing like 1 or 2 centimeters just to have my life easier on the sewing of the seam. So yeah, let's measure the shoulder straps. Now that's too high, maybe like that. Have the ability to have it on this height so it can be collapsed. Okay, how do I measure that? Okay, so have it like that. That's super precise. That's like 50 centimeters from, and maybe I would like to have it, I'm not sure. 45, is it okay? Yeah, let's call it 45. And on the shoulder, I would like to have a 20, maybe 25 centimeters of the black. Yeah, okay. Okay, so the back is slowly taking shape, and now it's time to add the handles. So the handles should go somewhere over here, and I'm not gonna lie, I already attached the handle on the other side because I wasn't sure, and I'm still not being sure, if I will be able to pull this off. So I already screwed a lot on this project, and I wanted to be a little bit more quiet and a little bit more focused while doing this, and it came quite nice actually. So now I can show you how to do it on the other side. Now it's like a show and tell. It's not prototyping anymore. One thing very important is the orientation of the strips, and the most important thing is that make sure that you don't twist the half of it. It has to be the same, otherwise it would look, well, not nice, I guess. I have to check on this side, so I used the more ugly side to be facing, of course, because I didn't pay that much attention. So I will do the same thing here, and maybe I can feel what is on the other side and put it into the same spot. Okay, that's maybe the best way to do it. I'll just make a simple mark, and I can do it maybe even like that. That will be much nicer. So the ugly side facing, of course. Yes, that's correct. Do not twist it. Find the other half. Yeah, something like that. Make another mark over here. Okay. Okay, so here is my mark. There goes the top down corner, top right corner, of course. But I will start from the top left corner, and the one thing I have to pay attention is the perpendicularity. So I'm just eyeballing this and move the fabric under the foot. That looks okay. Okay. Let's move the needle a little bit to the center. Okay. Move to the other corner. Make sure there is nothing below that you can't see, because you will sew right through it. Go a little bit up, maybe like that. Let's move 90 degrees. Check what's below, it's okay. Foot down. Go to the other side. Rotate 90 degrees. Make sure there's nothing underneath. Go to the original corner. And now from that corner, go to the second corner, diagonally. Like that. Okay. Nothing below. Okay, let's go down. I overshot it just a little bit, but I don't care. It's still a prototype, and I'm learning about how the machine behaves. Go to this corner once more. And go diagonally to the second corner. Okay. Slowly. And stop it. And with a little bit of luck, it looks like that. So there are two seams on the top, the cross seam and one around the perimeter. That should be quite strong. Now it's time to do the other one. Here is my mark. Haha, it looks nice. It still doesn't hold the shape, but it is the right size. Nice. Okay, let's cut the jokes and finish this thing. The last thing to do is to take care about the rim so it stays in shape no matter what. In the first prototype I used a spring steel wire which was strong enough but also very thin and sharp and frequently poked through the rim. So for the prototype number 2 I chose to use a constant force spring. That's this metal strip I'm fighting with. It tries to stay flat and no matter how much you turn it, it will oppose you with a constant force, hence the name. You can find them in clock winding mechanisms, tape measures and retractable cable thingies in vacuum cleaners. I think that's where I got this from. The idea is to form a circle with a short overlap, drill 2 or 3 holes through it, and use rivets to connect the ends together. Here I'm trying to find out the length of the overlap, and yeah, it looks grotesque. The problem with spring steel is that it doesn't like to be cut, drilled into, filed or routered. It is so springy and hard that it has a tendency to move away from the cutting tool. And having a soft low-cost drill doesn't help either. I'm putting in the blind rivets and hammering them flat, and yeah, I could definitely do a better job aligning those holes. Now it's time to prepare the top edge of the bag. It needs to be double folded and having the spring loop hidden inside. I'm using a paperclip binders and I find them invaluable for sewing. They are small yet very strong and just extremely handy. I was a little bit worried about sewing right next to a metal, but it was actually one of the easiest jobs. Again, taking it step by step, removing the binders on the go, and yeah, that was it. Okay, this is the finished thing. It nicely holds the shape. I was a little bit worried that the shape will not stay, but it looks nice, semi-sturdy. This is a little bit weaker, like not so strong, but that's okay. It actually holds the shape and it doesn't have to be that strong as the prototype. The last thing I did is to add another seam at the bottom, so this one came much nicer and it holds the bottom, or it will reinforce the bottom to the side. And as a last improvement, I added a small round webbing at the bottom. It is made out of the pink fabric, so it is nicely poking through the dark bag, and I can use it to tie up the unused end of the rope. That's for the safety purposes. Now let's try to fill this bag with the rope. So you usually feed the rope into the bag from top, because that's the moment where you are taking down the rope from the climb. So I will do that. I have the standard figure 8 knot, so I will tie it to the bottom, and now I can feed it as I would be doing this under the rock or under the rod at the gym. So the bag stays nicely in shape. That's perfect. Oh, that's perfect. Just a little bit of reconfiguration here and there. 25 meters of the rope in the bag. That's nice. It holds nicely. Okay, and this is the sort of a raw end of the rope that goes to the climber, and it can go in the bag. Still holds the shape. I can pick it up, put it down, still holds the shape. This is outside, so it doesn't intervene with everything or anything that's inside of the bag. I think I can call this a successful prototype number 2. Okay. How about the other stuff that I want to store there? Climbing shoes, the harness, just so I can keep it in the car and take it into the gym. Okay guys, this is success. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully see you some other time. Bye. This is nice. And pink. Excellent.